Hey guys, Marina Potato here with a guide on beating the Act 1 final boss, the Shackles of Denial, also known as the Brain. This guide will cover each of the 4 individual locks, what exactly they do, and how to best counter this boss with specific heroes, hero paths, and items. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to subscribe. I post new content every day. The Shackles are 4 individual enemies, each with 90 HP, no death blow, and varying resistances. The main gimmick of the locks is each turn one will get a free action to begin the round, locking out one of your skills, be it ranged abilities, melee, healing, or stress. This necessitates a balanced team and requires a lot of thought into which target to focus on first. In addition, upon death, each lock will apply a unique buff to the remaining locks. The spawn location of each lock is random, so it cannot be anticipated beforehand, and the locks cannot be moved. The locks collectively have 2 common abilities they all share, as well as 1 unique attack per lock. Crippling Doubt is an any rank to any rank attack that can target 1 to 2 heroes, with 4 to 6 damage and 1 stress, with a chance of a second stress. The second shared attack is Paralyzing Fear, which is an any rank to any rank single target attack, dealing 3 to 6 damage, a 75% chance to stun, and applies a Vaughn token. Now let's move to each individual lock's base stats and unique attacks and buffs. The Latch of Regret will lock all your melee abilities. It features relatively high bleed resist and stun resist. Upon death, all remaining locks will get a 20% damage boost. The Latch of Regret's unique attack is Ruptured Vessel, which is a front rank AoE that does 10 to 13 damage and applies a weak token. The Bolt of Lamentation will lock out your ranged abilities. Their resists across the board are quite low. Upon death, all remaining locks will get a 10% crit boost. Their unique attack is Mental Lashes, a back row AoE move that does 6 to 10 damage and applies a blind token. The Padlock of Wasting will lock your healing abilities. Skills that have a secondary healing effect, such as Crush with Combo, will still be usable, but the healing effect will not trigger. They have a quite strong 50% resistance to DOTs across the board. Upon death, each remaining lock will be healed 30 HP. Its unique attack is Cerebral Falter, a single target nuke usable against any rank, dealing 8 to 11 damage and a random 4-point dot effect. Finally, the Shackle of Despair will lock your stress skills. Notably, this will entirely block skills such as Revelry or items like Spring Water that heal stress among other effects. They have low dot resists, but higher than average debuff resist. Their unique skill is Overwhelming Anguish, which can hit any rank, dealing 8 to 11 damage and 3 stress, with a 25% chance of applying a 4th stress. The most important thing to remember about this fight is the locks are only really powerful with all 4 of them together. The priority has to be to eliminate a lock as early as possible to obtain an action economy advantage. Spreading damage is a no-go, and I also recommend against a pure dot build unless you're also utilizing Cause of Death, because with each lock only receiving 1 action per round, the DOTs will not tick quick enough. Single target direct damage is king here. Which lock you target is heavily dependent on both your team comp and in what order they spawn. Most teams' strongest direct damage necessitates that one of the front 2 locks be the first target, regardless of whether they are the best overall target. In most situations, the Padlock of Wasting will be my first target. Securing a kill on this lock within the first couple rounds will make sure you always have your heals available late in the fight. In addition, the Padlock of Wasting is the only enemy that does not give a permanent buff to the remaining locks, rather just giving them a one-time heal, which is irrelevant assuming you are not spreading damage. In addition, the Padlock's unique attack is the only one that applies a DOT, which highly elevates your risk of death above generic direct damage. Generally, the Shackles of Despair should be the last lock to be defeated, because stress sealing itself is generally not a good use of a turn when this fight requires a more aggressive strategy. The last lock will use their skill lock ability every round, so the decision on which one to keep alive is an important one. Between the skill lock and the fact that corpses don't exist with the locks, you need to take care with skill selection to make sure none of your heroes are ever permanently locked out of an action. I try to keep at least 1 ranged and 1 melee skill on every hero, and always make sure you have enough damage to the first rank to be able to finish off the final lock. As the first chapter boss, this is known as an easier and more general fight requiring a balanced team, and thus allows you to bring whatever team comp you want, as long as you can push said team through to the mountain. Some general tips are you want a full lineup of relatively higher HP, because most of the log attacks can be AoE, and thus you cannot rely solely on a taunt tank to soak up all the damage. Obviously, a mix of ranged and melee damage is best, although if you run a pure team of any type it can work. It just forces you to target the corresponding lock first, and usually requires some favorable RNG, because the locks don't go in any specific order, and there's no cooldown on the lock skill. The same lock can go multiple rounds in a row. As stated earlier, DOTs are less reliable because of varying resistances. Direct damage just simplifies the fight a lot better. None of the locks generate block or dodge tokens, so there's no need for skills to deal with that. Just flat damage. Let's talk in items. The single most important in item is the Clarifying Poultice, which boosts your stun resist. All 4 locks are able to stun, and it's arguably the most dangerous skill the boss has. Hoard as many as you can, ideal at least 4, 1 for each hero. If you can't secure this many, I'd use the few you have all on your healer so you have a way to heal out of a tricky spot. Restorative herbs are eternally useful, giving your limited healing a much bigger impact. Any sort of sustain, from block to dodge, is of course welcome, as is stealth. Nightshade Concoction is incredible, since the chapter boss always reduces your base death blow resistance by 20%. One item set with relatively less use are the Varying Dot Poultices, since only one lock applies a DOT at all and it's random. They're still usable, just not something to save and hoard for the mountain. For combat items, I generally go with healing salves across the board. You can stack them up to 2, giving you 8 total heals. Mineral Spring Water is still usable, but relatively weaker in this scenario, as there are 2 different locks that can block this item. If you fail to secure 8 salves, solid but inferior replacements include triage kits or smoke bombs. DOT causing items, even strong ones like Fragment, aren't as strong here since all the locks have varying dot resists, and dots in general are weaker in this fight. Overall, this boss needs to be treated like a damage race. Pick one target at a time, and unload everything you've got at the single enemy until they're dead. None of the locks have death blow resistance, to gain an action economy advantage, which trivializes the end of this fight. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe. I post new videos every day. And join my Patreon or become a YouTube member for early access to my upcoming videos.